Okay, we have Things Fall Apart, reference summary, pages 75 to 100. And we start right off with the Court of Igwugwu. They're not, it's not their job to be in the court. That's just one of the things that they do. They are immortals, they live beyond man's knowledge. They walk the earth when they choose. They preside the public court for the village. There is one that represents each of the 9 villages, and their leader is named Evil Forest. His head is on fire. He's my favorite. I really love the special effects. Of course, you can imagine the giant African masks and putting a little bit of smoldering moss in there, and it actually coming out of his head as he walks around and does his thing. I think that's just amazing. Love it. The trial. So there's a man, and he beats his wife too much, and she runs to her family for protection. He wants her back, or the money that he paid for the bride price. There are witness accounts, and it sounds as if he beats her up a lot. She may have miscarried, that's alleged, but he claims it is otherwise. He claims it wasn't from him. Others claim that it is his fault that she miscarried. And from his testimony, he sounds like a jealous and violent type. The Igwugwu confer, we note that. They actually go back to their hut and they talk to one another, and then they return. And they tell him to beg her to come back to him. They tell him to stop hurting her. During court, he was warned by her family in court that they will castrate him if he continues. And all I heard was laughter. So it didn't seem to me like anybody was saying that that was a problem, or there was a no, or there was an issue with that. So I don't know how to take that. Maybe that's just going to happen. Maybe it was a threat. Maybe it was for real. I don't know. She will return to him in the end, and it sounds to me like this was the only way to get him to stop being who he is, and that's what it says at the end. There's 2 people talking, and they say the only reason this went to court is because he's just a super stubborn person. This is the only way to get him to relinquish the battle. Then all of a sudden we have the Chielo, the priestess of Agbala, visits, and Chielo is Ekwefi's friend. Chielo is also the priestess of a god. As she goes into a trance, the god speaks through her, and there is a shrine in a small, low, tight hole going into a cave. The cave is dimly lit by the embers of a fire. Chielo visits very late at night on a dark night. People seldom go out on dark nights. They're superstitious, and there's also, when you go far enough out away from the main villages, there's bad things out there that can get you. And there's always things that you can step on, snakes and scorpions and stuff. So people are a little bit superstitious about going out on the dark nights, and also there's the spiritual aspect of it. Anyway, Chielo demands to have Izinma. Agbala wants to see her. Agbala wants to see his daughter. She comes in, and she's not Chielo that we're used to seeing during the daytime. This is not mom's friend Chielo. This is nowhere near. This is somebody altogether different. Okonkwo tries to reason and argue. Chielo is not having any of it. Absolutely not. She stands right up to him and says, "No way, Buster. You are not telling me anything. I am the priestess of a god." And she stomps right on through and takes what she wants. Izinma is afraid very much and does not want to go. But Chielo takes Izinma away anyway. Mom doesn't want her to go. Okonkwo doesn't want her to go. And Izinma herself doesn't want to go. Too bad, because Chielo says Agbala wants to see his daughter. Huh. Then there is the long night. Chielo takes a huge hike with Izinma on her back. She knows that she is being followed. She eventually takes Izinma into the shrine of Agbala, and Okonkwo and Ekwefi wait there until she comes out. She eventually emerges with Azima on her back and takes her straight to Okonkwo's and puts her to bed, leaves without a word, doesn't say a thing. And after that, there is a Yuri, which is for Okonkwo's friend's daughter. The bride price, we saw that earlier. The bride price has been paid, so it's like she was purchased. It's like a post-purchased party. It's different, and very different for me. This is unusual, but it's not our culture. And even today, there's people who laugh about it and they argue both sides in Africa because it is still done, as we saw in earlier videos. That it's still done today, and they laugh about the back and forth banter between whether or not it's a good thing. But anyway, the suitor brings a ton of palm wine, and the mother of the bride and her daughter cook for a small army. The suitor presents the palm wine to all the extended kin and close friends of the bride's family. And this is yet another stage in the marriage ceremonies. And there are many stages in the ceremonies. They take days. Most involve a party of some type. And you can see how much money is necessary to wed. And you can also see why Okonkwo could not have paid the bride price of Ekwefi when she first wanted him and he first wanted her. She ended up going to another man because he had the money, but she eventually left him to go to Okonkwo, and that's just the way that went. So there's different ways that things happen in that. Okay, so a few things to consider. This whole thing seems to be a little bit about personal rights, what you can and can't do, what things are actually things that are just going to happen. That's just the way that it is, and you don't have a say about it. So we had some of the court representing, obviously, and we got to see the way some of that takes place. So that's a direct tie-in. And then, of course, we got to see the priestess of Agbala showing up and taking the daughter without the parents' consent or anything otherwise. Too bad, so sad, that's the way that it is. Taking away your daughter and you're not saying anything about it. That's kind of a shock to somebody from a different culture, not used to that concept one bit. And then, of course, the end, we have the post-purchased party, which is like, you get purchased, afterwards there's a big party, everybody's happy because the purchase was made, we're getting someplace. These ceremonies take many times and big, huge, giant parties and go on for weeks and weeks. Over, every 2 weeks or something, there might be another ceremony, and it might take a few months before somebody is finally fully married. So it's when we see all of these things, it went from threads of stories that were kind of random and more about like get to know the people, and now they've got a very definite edge. They're like a personal rights. They're like a what happens to people when, and there are certain things that you have to abide, and that's just the way that it is. And these are some of the more rigid rituals and cultural traditions that are going on with these people. And I think that the placement's designed because right after this section, we're suddenly going to hit the tragic accident that happens to Okonkwo that's going to shift us. And all of the first 100 and some odd pages are referred to as part 1. There's a small section of about 20 or some odd pages that is part 2, and then there's the last part is part 3. Of this novel. Part 2 is the exile. Part 3 is the return. So we are just about finished with part 1, which is just all of the getting to know everything about these people. And like I said, in the beginning it's more general, in the end it's a lot more specific to these are rules you follow, this is the way that it is, these are things that happen to people and they don't have a say in the matter. Then all of a sudden, pow. Surprise, Okonkwo. He had an accident and something's going to happen that's going to make him go, well, you got to go, buddy. When you got to go, you got to go. You'll see what I mean. Coming up soon in, I don't know, just a few pages.